The sky over Fort Moore, Georgia, didn't just break at 0530 hours, it shattered. There was no diplomatic transmission, no warning broadcast, and no orbital hail. Just a sudden, sickening tear in the atmosphere and a 60-ton, bio-armored drop pod slamming straight into the middle of the physical training field, right in front of 1st Battalion, 11th Infantry Regiment. The impact tore up 50 yards of fresh dirt, sending a wave of dust and pulverized grass flying across the formation. Inside the vessel were 30 elite shock troopers of the Krellian Empire, 8 foot tall, chitin-armored warforms equipped with localized force fields and heavy plasma scythes. Their entry protocol was built on absolute psychological terror. Land in the middle of an unarmored assembly, display supreme technological dominance, and watch the local population break in panic. The drop pod's heavy hydraulic ramps crashed down into the mud with a deafening shriek. Commander Vrax, a battle-tested Krellian veteran of 14 planetary subjugations, stepped out into the damp morning fog. His 4 ocular lenses flared yellow as his suit scanners scanned the field, looking for the frantic, fleeing masses of primitive native soldiers. Instead, his sensors picked up something that completely broke his tactical AI's predictive algorithms. Nobody was running. Nobody was screaming. Standing in crisp, perfectly aligned formation were 400 soldiers wearing matching black shorts and yellow-lettered army shirts. Every single one of them was soaked in sweat, breathing heavily, and holding the bottom position of a front-leaning rest. At the front of the formation stood Staff Sergeant Marcus Vance. He had been up since 0400. His feet were covered in blisters from a 12-mile march the day before, and his platoon was currently on repetition 48 of a 60 push-up count. Vance slowly pushed himself up from the dirt, wiped a mixture of sweat and Georgia clay off his forehead, and looked at the giant, purple-glowing spaceship that had just ruined his grass. Commander Vrax raised his plasma scythe, its glowing edge humming with enough thermal energy to melt solid steel. His vocal synthesizer boomed across the silent field in translated Terran. "Weak bipeds of Earth, your military hub is compromised. Drop to your knees and submit to the Imperial Vanguard." Staff Sergeant Vance didn't look at the plasma weapon. He didn't check his non-existent body armor. He slowly turned his head, looked down at his ruined, mud-stained running shoes, then looked back up at the 8-foot alien with pure, unadulterated early morning spite. "Hey, jackass!" Vance's voice cut through the fog like a rusty saw blade. "Do you have any idea how hard it is to get this grass level for the company run?" Commander Vrax blinked his primary lenses. His internal AI cycled frantically. Target displays 0 biological panic. Cortisol levels stable. Aggression metrics overflowing. "You are unarmored," Vrax roared, taking a threatening step forward. "You carry no energy weapons. You are fragile, soft-skinned." "First platoon," Vance bellowed, his voice echoing off the tree-line like a thunderclap. "Halt!" 400 boots slammed into the dirt in perfect, deafening unison. "Recovery position. Move." The 400 soldiers stood up smoothly, rolling their shoulders and shaking out their arms. They didn't have their rifles. They didn't have their Kevlar vests. But they had 400 heavy steel kettlebells, 40-pound medicine balls, and 6-foot iron pull-up bars lining the edge of the field. And more importantly, they were in the middle of 0530 PT, the single most hated hour in the entire military universe. "You picked the wrong field, alien," Vance growled, reaching down and picking up a 53-pound cast-iron kettlebell by the handle like it was a lunchbox. "We were almost done." What followed defied every piece of tactical doctrine in the Krellian War Manual. When Commander Vrax fired his first plasma bolt into the dirt, the soldiers didn't scatter. They closed the distance. A squad of infantrymen didn't wait for heavy artillery. They hurled 50-pound iron kettlebells with terrifying, high-gravity momentum, shattering the Krellian force fields on contact. Before the alien shock troopers could cycle their plasma weapons, 2 drill sergeants tackled an 8-foot warrior straight into the mud, using raw, unrefined leverage and entrenching stakes to pin its chitin-armored limbs to the ground. High-tech bioarmor that could deflect sniper rounds found out what happens when 30 furious recruits use heavy steel pull-up bars as battering rams against exposed knee joints. Within 8 minutes, The 30 elite Krellian shocktroopers were forced back onto their landing ramp, their living armor weeping purple hemolymph into the Georgia soil. Commander Vrax, his primary weapon shattered and his secondary arm useless, scrambled backward into the airlock, his 4 eyes wide with pure, unscripted horror. Vance stepped onto the ramp after him, holding a heavy iron barbell over his shoulder like a baseball bat. He leaned in close, his sweat-stained face inches from the alien's cracked visor. "Tell your fleet commander something for me?" Vance growled, breathing heavily. "If you ever drop on this field during morning PT again, we won't just break your ship, we'll make you do the push-ups with us." The drop pod's thrusters detonated in a wild, blind panic, blasting the ship straight back into high orbit to escape the absolute madhouse on the ground. Up on the Krellian flagship in high orbit, the High Admiral stared at the incoming telemetry in stunned, paralyzed silence. Out of 30 elite conquerors, 4 had made it back alive. The planet's planetary defense grid hadn't even been turned on yet. The translation unit on the flagship desk clicked twice, playing the final frantic transmission from Vrax's suit comms. "Cancel the invasion. They don't use weapons. They train by lifting heavy iron in the freezing fog for fun. Retreat. Alien logic says that when you drop a warship in the middle of an unarmed army formation, they surrender. But Earth at 5:30 a.m.? They don't care about your galactic empire. You ruin their workout, and they will beat your high-tech war machine into scrap metal with pure, unadulterated morning rage."